Greetings and welcome, people. Shout out to Phil480. Just bumped into him at the, well, not literally, just called in at the petrol station at Sainsbury's at the same time he did. As I was waiting to turn off into the petrol station, I saw somebody in a adventure style jacket on a Triumph Scrambler in khaki green, satin khaki green. I thought, is that the man himself? And it was. So if I forgot to say it in all my excitement, greetings and welcome, people. And the weather at this very moment is, as far as I'm concerned, absolutely ideal. About 18 or 19 degrees, not too hot and sunny, absolutely perfect. Bit windy, but can deal with that, can't we, babe? Thought I'd have another run at making a video I tried to make maybe a year or more ago. I did actually record it, but I ended up waffling on for so flipping long that it was too long, too rambly, too disjointed. So you might think, well, what's the difference between all the other videos then? Yeah, I mean, if I decided that was too bad compared to some ones I do put out, you can appreciate how bad it actually was. So I thought I'd have a quick summary of my biking background. In other words, my bike history. Now, basically, Babe, my beautiful Babe, is the first full-size motorcycle I've ever owned, and I've had Babe for now just over 25 years. And Babe is now 29 years old. So, where did I start? Well, I'll be honest, and I have absolutely no shame in admitting, I started off on scooters. Yes, motor scooters, not the ones you stand on with one foot and push along with the other foot. Motor scooters. My first one was one you don't get to hear of much these days. Quite an obscure brand. When I was, I think, about 14 at the time, I was obviously becoming more interested in, well, it might be 15, coming up to 16, I don't know. My mother, bless her, was aware that I was becoming more interested in some form of independent transport. We didn't have any cars or anything in our household at the time when I was growing up. Well, we did in the early years, but not later. Anyway, I'm starting to ramble again. She heard from a local shopkeeper that the young man who was, or young lad who was his assistant, had a scooter in the yard behind the store that he wanted to get rid of. And obviously it was made very clear that it needed work, etc., etc. I forget how much this machine cost at the time. It was literally a few pounds. Now when I say that, please bear in mind that this was, where are we? Just over half a century ago, just over 50 years ago, and it was at the time a non-runner, and it was a Capri, and I don't know what the engine class it was. I think it was either a 100 or a 125. So, obviously after half a century, memories become very vague and nebulous. So I remember having this bike I remember it not working. I parked it up behind the council house that my family lived in at the time, and I set to work with almost no tools and no knowledge of what I was doing. But I did actually get the engine running. I cannot now recall what the problem was. I think it may have been something to do with the coil. Got the engine running. Unfortunately, I couldn't ride it because the other, much more significant problem was that the gear selector cruciform on the end of the gear selector shaft had come adrift, had fallen off, and basically you just couldn't select any gears. So I could kick it over, start it up, rev it up. I just couldn't ride it. So I did what any self-respecting young teenager would do at that point. I painted it. I painted it in maroon and blue, not knowing at the time that they were West Ham colours, West Ham Football Club. I had no allegiance to any football club at the time, as now I don't support any football club, soccer club if you like. So I just chose two colours that I thought I quite liked, got a couple of pots of paint and a couple of brushes, and had at it. And I like to think that it didn't look that bad. But anyway, I have no idea what happened to that. I think after I left home, my mother got somebody to come and take it away, which is a shame, because if I had the knowledge and tools and things that I've got now, if I still had that bike, I could probably get that up and running. I mean, physically it was in great shape. There was no rust or anything on it. It was amazing. But anyway, so that was my first introduction to motorcycles. I mean, basically 2 wheels and engine, it's a motorcycle. Oh, it's a DeLorean. Oh wow. So fast forward a couple of years, 2, possibly 3 years, and I was at school, and in the what I think now would be called year 11 or year 12, basically lower sixth form, and there were some guys in the year who were scooter riders, Lambretta boys, we called them the Lamby lads, and I expressed an interest in getting one, and one of them said, yeah, I've got one you can have, for sale obviously, and lo and behold I ended up with a red Lambretta GT, that's Golf Tango 200cc, or probably about 198 I think. I think that model, the GT model, is also referred to as the TV, Tango Victor. And I rode that for a few months, probably less than a year, until it failed its MOT because it had a bent frame. Now I hadn't crashed it, so it had a bent frame when my school buddy sold it to me. So I think he took it back and sold me at a discounted price because he sold me a Duff bike. Sold me an SX Sierra X-Ray 150. Now that was in decent running order, and I actually rode that, and I have a photo of that one which I will insert in the video now. A few pictures of that. So yes, I rode that for a while, left school, rode it to and from work, and shortly after I left school and started working, I traded that in for a GP 200. That's Golf Papa 200. Some people know them as DL, Delta Lima 200s. They're the basically sporty version. I mean, none of the models could do much more than about 65, 70 miles an hour, but by goodness they could get there really quick. And my GP, the engine used to spin up like a turbine. It was as silky smooth as anything. So, yep, had that for couple of years. Took my girlfriend on quite a few rides. I was living in Margate at the time. She was going to college in Dartford, so I used to ride along the North Kent coast throughout the year. So if anybody now ridicules me and calls me a fair weather rider, yes, I am now. Oops, where's my camera going? Oh, what's up with the cars today? Well, I have served my time riding in all weathers. I kid you not, North Kent in the winter is a chilly place to be. Well, classic cars around today. But as is the way of most young men who ride any form of motorbike, as soon as you get into a steady long-term relationship, get engaged or whatever, you start to think of more of the creature comforts of your partner, and obviously first thing you do is you get rid of the bike and get something with doors, a roof and a heater. So I did just that. This is the only part of my motor vehicle history that I find shameful, is I did actually have a three-wheel van, basically the same sort of thing that the trotters had in Only Fools and Horses, except mine was a sickly beige rather than a yellow, but it did the trick. I was able to drive that on my full motorbike licence, which I took my test and passed on my motorbike in 1975, I think it was. So I was able to trade in my Lambretta, which again I really wish I hadn't done, but at the time I felt I had no choice, and got the three-wheel van, and I was able to drive that. And after a short while I was able to take my driving tests, or take driving lessons and take my driving tests while driving this van. Obviously it was taxation classified as a motorcycle because it's lightweight. I think these days they'd probably classify it as a microcar, same thing. And yeah, passed my test, got shot of the three-wheeler, and got the first of two minis. Now I know I appreciate this isn't my motorcycle history, this is my motor vehicle history, but obviously just to go to show that I went through pretty much the same sort of journey that so many, particularly young men, go through, starting off on two wheels and progressing to four, and then, as happened with Babe, coming back to two wheels later in life. I wouldn't call myself a born-again biker, because even when I didn't actually have my own bike, any time I got the chance to borrow a machine from my younger brother, I would do so, particularly if the car was in the garage for repairs. I still had to get to work, so I used to borrow his Honda C90 Super Cub. That was interesting. manual or foot shifted gearbox, but automatic clutch, so a semi-automatic motorbike. Very strange. But it got me around when I needed it, so thank you very much for that, Steve. May you rest in peace, little bruv. So, yes, had several cars right up. Well, I still have a car, obviously. I've never stopped having a car. Well, actually, tell a lie, I did stop having a car for a period of time when I was commuting by train. But, yeah, got back into four wheels, and then 25 years ago, got myself this machine that I'm now riding, which I absolutely love. Oh, there are some beauties out today. That includes the bike I'm riding, by the way. Yes. So, there we go. Up to date. Bang up to date. Yes, Babe is the only bike I own. And it's the only bike I have owned for quite a long time. It's one of only 4 bikes that I have ridden, or owned and ridden. But I've actually owned 5 bikes. As I say, the first one wasn't rideable, so ownership only. So, yeah, I wonder if any of you folks have a similar two-wheel history, two-wheel background. I wouldn't be at all surprised if a few of you do. So if you feel like it, drop me a little line below in the comments. If you don't, it's not a problem. Don't think he was waiting for me, because I'm not the bike he was looking for. Pretty sure, anyway. So as we head down the other side, down Berry Hill, I'll wrap this particular one up there. Hopefully it should be nice and short, something that is postable this time, and I'll say thank you very much for dropping by and taking a look. Nice Morgan. And I'll see you again on the next one. I won't see you again, I'll speak to you again on the next one. Cheerio for now. Bye.